We are back. It's the Joe Holka Show presented by FanDuel. Week 13, the big show. How we doing out there, everybody? This is one of my favorite slates so far of the entire year. How are you guys feeling about it so far? I guess not to completely bury the lead, but there's about 18 running backs in play today. So we'll have to sift through it, try and find the best ones. Obviously, roster construction will matter. There's a ton of value. You can basically build whatever you want if you decide to go down that road of basically punting quarterback, punting tight end, whatever it may be. There's going to be a lot of chalk there as well. So we're going to go through that together. Hope everyone is doing well. You'll see on all of the kind of overlays today, we do have some exciting news. If any of you guys are just here on Sundays, we do have another YouTube channel now. So I'm going to start throwing up some exclusive clips from the guests, also some different shorts. I wanted another space to throw up some more content for you guys, more like short form analysis, picks, like that sort of thing. And on the main channel, there just wasn't time for it, honestly, because if you just upload 4 or 5 videos a day during the week like we do, it gets to the point where it gets a little bit oversaturated. So it was time to create the second channel. Going to be running a bunch of different contests, so make sure you guys subscribe over there. We can see it in real time on the screen. How cool is that? So I think when I started the stream today, we were at 240, something like that. So one of the things that I'm really trying to do here is build this thing up quickly so that we can gain a little bit of traction before the end of the season. So one of the things that I decided to give away, some of you may know this, but we actually did our first sports card box break earlier, I guess a couple weeks ago now. But one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to give away the Justin Herbert rookie card. Rated rookie, pretty sweet card. Have to get it graded, of course, but I'm going to be giving this away if we hit 1K subs on the new channel before kickoff today. I actually think that this is pretty reasonable because we get, what, 600-700 people throughout the entire show, kind of our peak concurrent viewers most Sundays. But I can see kind of on the back end that we've got thousands of people that cycle through as the morning progresses, right? So if just half of those people subscribe to the new channel, it would really help me out, and you'll have a chance to win this Justin Herbert rookie card. So the way you enter this contest, obviously subscribe. There's a link in the description. There's a link pinned in the comments of the chat currently. So pretty easy to find. And then you have to go to my Twitter at @ShowHolka, like, retweet. That's all I have to do to enter. I'm gonna go literally this is what I'm gonna do when I do this God, can't even talk. This drawing is I'm just gonna scroll down. I'm gonna go to the retweets. I'm gonna do a random number generator, and I'm gonna pick one of these. It's the easiest thing to do. We're gonna give the wheel a rest this week. I think it'll be a little bit easier to do this one through Twitter. Also, what you guys want to know probably is what are we doing with the big Keenan Allen photo? So this is another contest. I've dubbed this week the Chargers giveaway week. So you also have to subscribe to the channel. Also, just the Pristine Auction forum that I'm sure most of you guys are already in. Check out my Twitter. Again, retweet, like, very, very easy. We got 92 people in this thing so far. This Keenan Allen thing is awesome. If you guys haven't seen this thing yet, this thing is so sweet. It's huge, by the way. I had nowhere to put it. I literally had nowhere to put it. So it's on the ground currently in the studio. But so slick, so slick. So we're going to be giving that thing away. I love how we have this counter. How do I even point this? This counter? This thing. There we go. This live counter. 278. So I don't know, guys. Maybe 1K was a little bit aggressive. I hope it's not. Hopefully we can get this thing moving, and it'll help more people find the channel, more people find the show, more people find our community, and it would really mean a lot to have your support there. Which tweet does it promote the giveaway? There's a pinned tweet. That's the easiest way to find it. Is my pinned tweet. Pinned tweet right here. So this has the Chargers one. Like, retweet, easy. And then the one right below it that I tagged in it, the one that says it's happening, that's the one for the Keenan Allen. Like, retweet. Very simple. I tried to keep this as simple as possible. So let's go ahead and get into this week 13. We're going to start this like we always do. Who is going to be today's chalkiest player, highest owned player today? Who's it going to be? Let's go ahead and put the poll on the screen so you guys can actually see it. There we go. Foster Moreau, Antonio Gibson, Jamal Williams, Cooper Kupp, James Conner, or other. In order to place your vote, ! Vote space the number. Always a good time. We will be giving away. I said we're gonna retire the wheel. We're not completely retiring it. We are gonna do a spin at the end of the show today. So if you participate in these polls, I'm gonna be giving away a $20 Amazon gift card. We'll do the drawing for that at the end of the show. All you have to do is vote. I don't ask a lot from you guys. Some likes, some retweets, a couple votes here and there. Everything I'm asking you to do is completely free. It takes like 2 seconds, right? So make sure you vote. You can obviously vote in all the polls throughout the show. Gives you more chances to win. How are we feeling here? I love the Twitter. The Twitter post is flowing, guys. So you guys are the best. I appreciate you. Antonio Gibson leading the way currently on this poll. Chat is flowing today, by the way. I know Frost said that immediately, but I'm going to scroll all the way to the top. We have some long overdue shout outs here. Also, I'm kind of terrified. I couldn't find my my normal mug, and now I have no top on this. So if I dump this at some point all over my stuff today, maybe the show won't last as long as it should, but we'll see. I'm going to do my best not to knock that thing over, but I am clumsy at times. Joey Donnelly in the chat will admit that he enjoyed watching this week's video, saying that the Barkley jersey is mine. Nice, man. I hope you win it. Roberto, what's up, my man? Family man, how we doing? Mike Yoakum, Dino, Armando, Court Max, Devin Smith, The Answer. Obviously some familiar faces in here that have been with us the entire year, but you know what's cool is we're getting new faces every week too in the chat. Guys that want to hang out on Sunday mornings with us. I'll say this. I say it all the time, but if you're just like reading articles or trying to find the hashtag experts on Sunday mornings, that's not what it's all about. It's about trying to work through this thing together. I don't have all the answers. I've been doing this a long time, pretty successfully, but I want to work with you guys to work through this stuff, right? Because on Sunday morning, a lot of things can change. We're going to talk about the news. We're going to talk about Sony Michel. We're going to talk about different scenarios that we can go to and build those into our lineups as we go. But anyone that just tells you they have all the answers, guys, look elsewhere, whether it's here or somewhere else. Who else we got in here? Gibran, what's up, man? Matthew, Court Max, Casey Bone, Danny P. What's up, Danny P? Danny P is always flowing those "we are back" emojis in the chat. I love to see that, man. Justin Uhl, Arlo Legs. I'm terrible at pronouncing these usernames, guys, so apologies on that. Brady's in here. What's up, Brady? Interested to see Joe's take on Sony at 4 p.m. Danny P, we will get there, my man. Winterbell's in here. Winterbell is actually taking advantage of the Kyler Murray emoji for the tier 2, tier 3 subscribers. I believe, so tier 1, sorry, you get access to all those emojis. So we got to start using the Kyler emojis more. I want to see more of the emojis in the chat. Winterbell says we like Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota at Detroit. My girlfriend is at the game in Detroit, so hopefully she's doing all right. First road game for them in a long time. Love the Minnesota stacks, Danny P says. They're expensive, but man, they're popping in optimals. I'll say that. I did a few last runs of the Sims before we went live today, and with all the stuff that's changed, and yeah, it's going to be a really, really fun slate, I think, for tournaments. Nate D's in here. What's up, Nate D? Doozy. What's up, Doozy? Doozy is fading Dr. Moreau. No matter what happens, it's the right move. The chalk quarterback or chalk tight end on FanDuel, the price between him and like George Kittle is pretty aggressively small. How's this poll looking so far? So far, it does look like Antonio Gibson might be the chalkiest player on the slate. Oh, we can't even see the memberships here. I got to move over this description thing. That's going to bug me. If you guys are becoming a new member, a new subscriber, you should be able to be shown on the screen. I'm not going to take that away from you. Hang on. Let's move this thing over. Producer Joe on the fly here. I think we're good. How's that? That'll cover most of them. It's going to have to do. LeBron is a lock at tight end. Man, the chat is flowing. I can't even like catch up on the chat right now. So if I missed any of your stuff from earlier, I'll try and circle back to your questions. Toss them in the chat again. We're going to go over some lineups from the tier 2s and tier 3s. We're going to go over through each position. We're going to build some lineups. We got a bunch of stuff to get to today. So I want to make sure I don't waste any more time here. Man, people are excited right now. And we got some super chats. I will make time for those, no doubt. Anthony Massey, thank you for your $5 super chat, my man. If playing Minshew on FanDuel, is that more viable in small field to mid-size GPPs, 100 to 2,000 entries, or is that more of a larger field play? Honestly, I think Minshew is going to be extremely popular at any stakes, at any field size. I think that at the time that this news broke, I do think that a lot of people are going to go there just to get in more of the studs because, like I said, there is so many good running back plays today, and there's good value also. But I think what was kind of bothering people is if they were to pay up for JT, then it's really difficult to get to Cooper Kupp. And if they're kind of trying to do the inverse, now with Minshew, people can do both. You can still get in a lot of these guys and not have to move all the way down to some of these cheaper plays if you don't want to. If you don't want to play Jamal Williams, he's not a requirement. If you don't want to like punt it off with like Devontae Parker, you don't have to on FanDuel, especially if you're playing Minshew. So I hope that answers your question. I think he's viable everywhere. I really do. I think that if you wanted to go the route of just jamming in studs with paying all the way down for Minshew, I don't think it's the worst slate to do that. I think that it would be a tough slate to do that if we didn't have a lot to pay up for, but we do today. We have a lot to pay up for today. There's a lot of really good plays. This is going to be an extremely high-scoring slate, in my opinion. Flash in the chat also, $9.99 super chat says, we are live. We are. Thank you for that $9.99 super chat, my man. Flash has been with us for a long time, man. I appreciate you. Frederick's one of our new members, one of our newest HOLKAMANIACs. Welcome, Frederick. See you in the Discord, my man. Dizzy Baby, new member in the chat. What's up, guys? We're flowing. We're flowing. Let's see this number. This number keeps moving. We're almost to 300 already. That's going to be sweet. I'm going to try and, like, it's not just going to be clips. I know it's named clips. It's just easier for people to understand what we're doing. I'm going to try and make a huge effort to do a lot of different stuff on that channel, right? So it actually makes sense to subscribe to both. I might even like pull back one of the main videos on the main channel just to get people to go over to the other one. That's how much I think it'll be important for us and have more people find us. So let's talk about quarterback. Let's end this poll. And we'll start with quarterback like we always do. But first, before we run the Sims, I want to get an idea of where you guys are at on quarterback first. Sub-only vote, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. Toss a like on this video. That helps more people find us this morning. That's the one thing you can do. All of this stuff, obviously, it's just more than enough being here with us. But the likes really help more people find us while we're live. It is very helpful. Top quarterback, price considered Tom Brady, Lamar Jackson, Minshew, Taylor Heineke, or Matt Stafford, or other. In order to place your vote, exclamation point, vote, space, and the number. We're coming right up on 300 subscribers on the new channel, which is amazing. You guys know how long it took me to get 1,000 subscribers on this channel? It might have taken me a full NFL season. So it's kind of like a personal challenge that I want to see if we can do it in 1 week, like half a week, essentially. I think that'd be so cool. That'd be so cool. So while we're voting on this, guys, I do want to run through some notes, some news and notes, some stuff that we're kind of looking into here. Some minor stuff. David Johnson not expected to play. Deshaun Jackson is expected to play. He's got that calf injury. It looks like it's not supposed to be too serious. Ian Rappaport reporting on that. Josh Jacobs has that ankle injury, is expected to play. Some implications at the 4 p.m. games, right? Because there's a lot of running back plays. Obviously, we have Rams, Jacksonville. We have Washington and the Las Vegas Raiders. We have San Francisco, Seattle, and then we have Pittsburgh, Baltimore. There's some running back plays in there, guys. Maybe Josh Jacob ends up being a late swap for people that are really struggling. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about late swaps here shortly. James Robinson does plan to play. That heel ankle injury does not sound great, but he'll be in there, it looks like, against the Rams. Darrell Henderson, this is the big one, right? Not optimistic that Darrell Henderson, with that quad injury, will be playing in Week 13 against the Jaguars. So it looks like he did have a limited practice on Friday, but he was he was held out completely to start the week. So Sony Michel, season, potentially. We'll see. I am acting right now that Sony's probably going to be in. And that does open up the slate a lot, right? So we'll get to that at the running back position, but I think it's important to go through that right off the hop, because that's going to kind of shape this entire thing, right? He's 5,300 on FanDuel, and he's in the 4 p.m. slate. So you don't give up a ton by going that direction. Quarterback, though, where are we at? Looks like Tom Brady leading the way, currently 29 votes. If you're just trickling in here, guys, I will be doing my normal giveaway at the end of the stream. $20 Amazon gift card just to get in there. Very, very simple. All you have to do is vote in the polls. Exclamation point, vote, space, and the number. We'll get there. We got tons of time. That's the best part about starting early. We're one of the first shows that starts every morning and really digs deep into this stuff. So I really pride myself on getting you guys prepared. But it's nice to not be in a rush. Another super chat from Flash. Flash is just throwing money around this morning. What a guy. Quarterback is rough this week. Minshew or Glennon more viable? I prefer Minshew because he uses his legs a little bit more. And I think the matchup is fantastic. We'll talk about Minshew first here. So obviously what he does for roster construction, you can't understate that, especially on this slate, right? So we'll talk about those guys in a second. I want to see where he ends up popping in the Sims, though, because I think that's one of the telling signs sometimes if it should be something we're really prioritizing, if it should be maybe at some ownership of fade. Let's go see what the Sims have to say here. So runthesims.com/Holka will get you 10% off. This is a tool that that I'm using every single slate that simulates everything 10,000 times. So one of the things that's, I guess, nice about using a tool like this versus an optimizer is we're taking into consideration all the different game flows. We're taking into consideration all the different kind of range of outcomes that can happen for these inputs, these target shares, these rushing shares. And it gives us an idea of which players pop in that optimal lineup most often. So, shocker, Sony Michel, 37% at 5,300. This ownership's going to go up, obviously. So that's a huge number, and that opens up pretty much everything if you're willing to go down. We've been talking about this at the running back position on FanDuel specifically. If Sony Michel gets in the end zone, he basically meets his price tag. The opportunity cost of all of these really strong running back plays is something to consider, but honestly, I still think that if Sony Michel is active as the only running back for the Rams, he's probably the best play on the entire slate. So let's move down and see where we finally see Minshew here. So what's interesting, and this is something too that we don't see every week, we see a lot of running backs at the top of the Sims, right? It's spread out, but that just tells you how good of plays some of these guys are. Alexander Mattison, Leonard Fournette, Jonathan Taylor, Jamal Williams, James Conner, all of these guys. But I'm curious, the first quarterback we see in the Sims is actually Lamar Jackson. What do you guys think about that? Lamar was third in our votes right now. Lamar's an interesting play, I think, on this slate specifically. And I'm going to tell you why. I think that the fact that this news happened with Minshew early is actually a good thing for people that wanted to go the Lamar route. So not only are you going to have a completely different roster construction, also a guy like Lamar has a chance to separate from the quarterback position. And normally we see a lot of condensed, the range of outcomes for quarterbacks is much smaller. We know that. So it's a little bit tighter. It's easier to pay down. But sometimes it's comfortable to pay down, right? I get it. Some people may not want to go to Minshew. But in my opinion, it opens things up to get to these studs that people are getting more comfortable with that play. So I kind of like that the complete opposite, Lamar Jackson, this type of roster construction, is the first quarterback we see in the Sims, 14% of the optimals. So there's obviously opportunity cost here because if you're going to pay $8,500, you're kind of backed into playing at least one of the cheap running backs, maybe two, in order to get up to some of these other studs. The interesting thing about wide receiver, which we'll get to, is there's really not a ton to pay up for outside of Cooper Kupp, maybe someone like Justin Jefferson. So I don't know if a lot of people are going to play Lamar today. And the fact that he is the first quarterback in here at about 11% ownership, I think is kind of interesting. And it's not an easy spot. Let's preface this because division game, we've seen these Steelers and Ravens games get kind of gross at times. And we know that Ben's not going to push back a ton on the other side. But what's nice is Lamar Jackson has, good weapons around him. We got Mark Andrews. We got Marquise Brown, who's in a phenomenal spot. Both of these teams can be beat deep, by the way. That's one of the things I've been trying to add to the analysis every week is which teams really struggle to get beat deep and which teams are capable of just being all right, go ahead. We're going to keep you in front of us. Teams like the Eagles. So great spot for Lamar. I think the Lamar skinnies with Hollywood are really strong. And I don't know if outside of maybe Tom Brady on this slate, if there's another quarterback that can really match that ceiling, in my opinion, and really truly separate. And Tom Brady's going to be a lot, I think, heavier owned than Lamar. So I'm interested in Lamar Bills. I'm not sure if I'll make it to there on my main team, but the fact that he's in the Sims number one at quarterback, I think is interesting. Tom Brady is the next one at 9%. No Minshew yet, right? So at the very top, Sony Michel right away, right? At 5,300, 37% optimal rate. Quarterback's a little bit different. We got to keep scrolling here. And it's always a little bit more spread out. So we see quarterbacks fall a little bit in the Sims. Justin Herbert, the third. And this is 6% of the optimals, guys. Like, that's not a huge number. We're going to keep going. Derek Carr, Taylor Heineke, 6%. Kyler Murray, 6%. We're still going. Gardner Minshew, 5.8% at 6,100. What do we think about that? Isn't that interesting? So last week we looked at the Sims. I completely ignored Leonard Fournette and Cordero Patterson being towards the top, which is frustrating. So I'm trying not to ignore this. Like, the Minshew build, I think, is definitely in play. And just because it's lower in the optimal rate doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. It just means that you have to go into it thinking that you have to build for your field size, right? Like, some of these optimal, you don't need the optimal lineup to win small field. But if you're one of those people out there that's playing some of the larger tournaments, maybe to kind of circle back to your question earlier for Anthony in the chat was asking about Minshew, maybe it's more of a small field play than a large field play. Because I don't know if the ceiling is there in the large field stuff to truly get you there. And you kind of still, like, obviously you're going to be able to get up to the studs. I understand that. But to win some of these larger field contests or even these mid contests like you were talking about, 2,000 people, I think you kind of need a little bit more ceiling at quarterback than Minshew can provide. And if I end up being wrong, that's fine. But I think the Sims are pretty telling here that him being that low doesn't necessarily mean he's out of play for small field stuff. And I don't think he is personally. Like, I still might get there. But in large field stuff, I think I'm going to X out Minshew. I think I'm okay with that. We had another super chat in here. Mixon or Taylor, who's in the better spot? Flash, we're going to get to running back, my man. They're both amazing plays. Taylor's another one of those guys where his ceiling is kind of on another level right now. But the Bengals are kind of having a decent amount of success with kind of shifting their entire offensive scheme to being a lot more run heavy. They've been slowing things down a little bit. That's a concern, that game. I mean, I love Mixon. I love Eckler. I love Taylor. But if we're just talking who's in a better spot, like, Taylor's in an amazing spot today. He's just very expensive. He's very expensive. So who else are we talking about here? We talked about Lamar. Let's talk about Brady for a second. So Brady is one of those guys that it feels like some people that played him last week might have been, I guess, a little bit burned just because they scored, 40 points and Leonard Fournette took all the touchdowns. And any other, I guess, 2-3 years ago, no one would be on Brady. People are too sharp now, right? I think that even after the failure, we've seen Brady really bounce back after some of those games in the past. I don't expect there to be 4 rushing TDs again today. His price has moved a little bit. He's still 8,100 on FanDuel, though. So what really matters to me about the Bucs and why I still think Tom Brady's one of the best plays on the slate at quarterback, obviously you pay for it. Pass rate above expectation, they're still in the top 3. So they're a team that's going to throw a ton. They're a team that's going to throw a ton in the red zone. That stuff matters because it's going to lead to more plays. And we really need, in terms of Brady, without having any rushing equity with his legs, we probably need to double him with 2 of his weapons in most contests. And for that to happen, you kind of need to pick the right touchdowns, but you also need to have Brady throw 3 or 4 touchdowns anyway for him to be in a GPP winning team, especially on this slate. This is not last week where it was pretty gross and a small slate can get you there. I don't necessarily think that's the case this week. I think we are going to need that ceiling. So Brady is definitely a strong consideration for me, especially because this game's in a dome, right? This is the time of the year where we're going to have to battle through the elements a little bit, battle through weather. We're more concerned about wind, and we'll get to that. But, I mean, having controlled situation for Brady in the dome, coming off of a performance that, I guess, for his standards was a little bit subpar in terms of scoring touchdowns. So, yeah, going back to Brady is completely fine. Taylor Heineke's an interesting one because I think he was one of those guys that everyone was talking about early in the week, myself included, because that game looks pretty nice for points. And Heineke is one of those guys, too, that, like, he'll give us a little bit of rushing equity with his legs, and he's not scared to throw the ball down the field. He kind of feels almost like that, like, Fitzpatrick kind of guy. Like, we love Fitzpatrick around here because he runs and he throws deep. He gives his players a chance to make plays. So, Terry McLaurin. I guess the Raiders are a team. Let's talk about the Raiders for a second as we're talking about Heineke, because this is, like, pretty relevant, I think. Because, like we said, he's not scared to throw it deep. And I've been trying to add this a little bit to my analysis. It's a 4 p.m. game also. But what's interesting about the Raiders' defense is that they've allowed the 26th most deep ball targets, but they're actually the 5th best team, the 5th, like, strongest defense in terms of QBR allowed on those deep balls. So it's almost like they're baiting them into it a little bit, but they have such a, I guess, cohesive scheme that they can really defend the deep ball very well. So doesn't mean that Terry McLaurin can't have success. Doesn't mean that Heineke can't have success. But I'd be shocked if we had like a deep ball that happens here. But 7,100, he's kind of like he's a nice pay down option. I'll say that. No J.D. McKissick. We'll get to Gibson in a second. Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel, like all these guys, like the weapons are starting to get a little bit healthier there. And it is a pretty good spot overall. So I do like Heineke. Heineke versus paying down further for Gardner Minshew, I think is really close on FanDuel. And then Stafford is one that I hadn't really been considering a ton, but Stafford's one of those ones that I think that a lot of people aren't going to go there because later in the slate, a lot of people are probably going to be going to the running backs at the very end. We do have Lamar kind of in that price pivot area. Cooper Kupp's going to be popular. Sony Michel's going to be popular, I would imagine, by the time we get to lock. But I don't think a ton of people are going to play Stafford over like Brady, and the total's right there. I could be totally wrong on that. But I think that the Stafford stuff is kind of interesting just because of that late swap equity that you get versus Brady. And I think we're probably going to get a little bit lower ownership on him. I could be totally wrong, but that's kind of where I landed on the Stafford stuff. So I'm curious what type of ownership we're looking at here. Let's go back over to Run the Sims for a second and touch on quarterback. So let's turn these colors on. I like colors. Ownership-wise, it does look to be Lamar. I mean, it's very flat now after looking at this. Gardner Minshew is going to be higher than 7%, I think. But Stafford versus Brady. Brady is coming in a little bit lower than I thought. This is definitely going to be higher in smaller field. Gardner Minshew, though, I mean, look at this. 8,500, Lamar still pops as like a decent point per dollar value. We're talking about where we're going to spend our salary today. I want to keep that in mind. I don't want to box myself out of the idea of playing Lamar today. What else we got in the chat? Djax's revenge game. That's true. I wish the snaps were a little bit higher. Wish he was a little healthier. But yeah, I mean, it's a great spot. I guess we didn't even talk about the other side of that game, right? So the Washington football team is actually the worst team in the league at QBR to deep balls. Maybe it's Zay Jones that gets there. Maybe it's Edwards. Both those guys have a 15 plus ADOT. But maybe it's Deshaun Jackson. I could see that. I'd be curious where Deshaun Jackson's ownership lies. Everyone saw it in prime time on Thanksgiving, him getting there. If he's 10%, I think he's a great fade. If he's 3, yeah, maybe he's a nice upside piece. When a lot of people, I think, are going to go to Renfro in that game, or obviously Moreau. Let's see what we got here. Can't see Joe. Not sure what that means. Does Minshew get more points because of his glorious mustache? I think that checks out, man. I think that checks out. Kyler Murray projecting at 3.8% ownership. Nuke projecting at 2. Yeah, Kyler's one that I haven't made my mind up on yet, family man. I think that everything kind of lines up as him being like a decent leverage option, no doubt. You have to ask yourself how healthy you think Kyler is and what the situation is going to be like in Chicago. If we think there's going to be a little bit of wind there, it looks like rain mostly, but there is some notes so far that there could be winds around 15 mile per hour. And that's like right at like the borderline for me of where I guess wouldn't have any interest in a lot of those guys. The problem with Arizona is it's really hard to figure out who to stack Kyler with. It's very spread out. Rob P, $2 super chat. Thank you for that, my man. Pick 1 in standard. Javonte Williams, Jamal Williams. Yeah, obviously no Melvin Gordon too. So that gives us an opportunity to show off the rangefinder here. Let's go ahead and do that. That's how I want to use these questions that are not on the main slate. We might as well show the rangefinder. So this is another tool available at Run the Sims. We're talking standard league. Okay. Jamal. And Javonte. Let's see what we got here. And this is how I like to do these questions. The median doesn't matter to me as much. What matters to me is like the range of outcomes with these type of decisions, right? So the median's pretty close. 14 points to 13 points. It looks like a much higher ceiling though for Jamal. So I think Jamal Williams the play, my man. Good luck with that one. What else we got in the chat? Weather in Bears game isn't great. Yep. Let's see what we got. Brady, Stafford, and Lamar move on. Yeah, I mean, paying up at running or at quarterback, I think is going to be a little bit more popular on FanDuel specifically. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. People are going to fall in love with the builds they can make with Minshew. Jefferson also gives you a few hundred in savings. I like Jefferson a lot for us. Detroit stinks. There's just no doubt about it. I like the mini stacks with him and Jamal. We got more super chats coming in. You guys are just flowing super chats today. I appreciate you. Flash again. Is naked Stafford viable in smaller field stuff? Haven't been landing on there quite a bit, but can find a build to pair with him. Probably not. I think that you would have to really bank on him throwing, 4 touchdowns to 4 different people? Like, that's a scenario where that makes sense. If you're playing Stafford and Cooper Kupp gets 2, you're just going to wish you had the stack. So, yeah, I probably wouldn't do that. I'd probably go naked with Minshew, honestly, before I would go naked with Stafford. Family Man, $5 super chat. JT has 67 more fantasy points than Kupp since week 4, and they are 1 and 2 in fantasy producers since then. Pretty small sample there, Family Man. But I agree with you. JT's ceiling has been crazy. And the target share has condensed a little bit for the Rams, if we're being fair. We haven't seen like that alpha target share game from Kupp in a few weeks. He hasn't been scoring as many touchdowns either, so that we knew that was going to regress a little bit. All right. Joe, you getting up to JT today? Everyone wants to talk about running back. Should we move to running back here? We could. We got a new subscriber, Scott Burnham. We convinced you. Appreciate you, my man. All the way up to 308 on the new channel. The new channel subs are absolutely flowing. So just a reminder, guys, I'm going to be giving away a Justin Herbert rookie card to one member that retweets that tweet on my Twitter about the Herbert contest and subscribes to the channel. All right, let's go ahead and move over to running back because there's a lot to talk about here, guys. The running back stuff is pretty bonkers right now. So let's start at the elite side. Top elite running back, top end running back, whatever you want to call it. Price considered, sub only vote. Hit that like button if you haven't already. It does help out a lot. Antonio Gibson, Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Leonard Fournette, or other. Where are we at on the high end of running back today, guys? Before we get to the Sims, before we talk through some of these plays, I want to hear from you guys. Just an absolutely stacked running back slate. Reminder for the tier 2s and tier 3s in the chat, toss a lineup. If you're building this morning, toss a lineup into the submit for lineup review channel in Discord. We're going to go through some community lineups. We're going to build a few, but I want to make sure I always remind you guys to toss a few in there. Jonathan Taylor getting some love here. Ownership on Jonathan Taylor is going to be extremely interesting. Extremely interesting. Because, like, as of right now, Taylor's about 15 to 20% or so. With the highest ceiling on the entire slate. Ahead of Cooper Kupp. We're getting some love, though, from you guys. Maybe you guys are too sharp. Or maybe you just like that Amazon gift card that we give away for the vote stuff. That was the way that it used to take us too long to get to like 100 votes or so. And it is valuable to see where you guys are at, where everyone is at. But ever since I started giving away that Amazon gift card at the end of the show for just voting, we get to 100 very quickly. Winterbell says Patterson is his other. Interesting. Patterson's the guy we just completely avoided. Clayton, we're going to put him in the next poll. We're going to do a cheaper running back poll as well. A Webb says he put it in a Herbert lineup for Holka Charger Day. Yeah, it just turned into Chargers giveaway week. It wasn't on purpose, but it happened. Chargers giveaway week, yeah. I'm blocking it a little bit, but this Keenan Allen thing is so sick. I also kind of want it out of my office because it's massive, but it's pretty sweet. What's a good cheap defense? I don't know if there's like that slam dunk one this week, but on the cheaper side, I do like Miami if you can get to them at 4K. I think they're probably the one that I'd be prioritizing on the cheap end. If you wanted to completely punt, maybe Detroit. It's because there's going to be pass attempts in that one, I think. Daniel, just so you know, my man, if you're going to vote for 6, you actually have to hit the vote 6 first and put James Conner on the next line, or for some reason it's not going to register your vote. Just how this thing works. Same with you, Michael. Got to put Barkley on the next one. Let's actually, before we even look at the Sims, actually, no, let's stay on the top end of running back first. Let's not get carried away here. So run the Sims.com/Holka. Get you access to this. Simulate the slate 10,000 times. The high end of running back, we have JT at 22% of the optimal lineups at 18% ownership, roughly. That's pretty good for that type of ceiling. A price tag that is very, very tough to get to, but I mean, this is why we have the Sims, right? There's constructions that you can get you there. Alexander Madison is the next highest, which is kind of interesting because Madison is not in this poll. He was in my next one, I believe. I kind of thought Madison might get squeezed a little bit, and the ownership looks like that might be the case. He's only 12% right now. And I think it's because if you're going to be in that range, it's almost a little bit more comfortable to get up to Cooper Kupp for 300 more. People see Madison, they're just like, okay, like it's the backup running back. Maybe he should be like 6'5", 7K. And if that was the case, I think he'd probably be one of the top guys, right, with Sony. But at 8,700, I think people might hesitate with that one. I will say that Jake Seeley told us earlier this week that he's a little bit concerned that they start to get a few more people involved in Minnesota and that it's very well in the range of outcomes that we see like 16 to 17 touches for Madison. And at 8,700, you need a little bit more volume than that unless he breaks a big play, which he could because Detroit stinks. Like we talked about this. But what I like about this is it's still popping very high in the optimal rate at a much lower ownership. This is kind of what we're looking for, right? These type of discrepancies. This is the type of stuff that I personally overlooked a little bit with Cordero Patterson last week. Cordero Patterson, 7,400. 14% of the optimals, 4% owned. Those are the type of chances that you can take at 1 p.m. And if you hit on one of those lower owned plays, sometimes like it just makes things a little bit easier the rest of the way because then you can play the best plays. You can play some of the chalky plays and really separate from some of the teams that are not late swapping and kind of playing a lot of chalk early, riding right into some chalk players late. Like there's still not enough people that are doing that. So you can really gain a ton of space just by taking a few chances early. And if it doesn't go right, you just, easy game. You just pivot over to something lower owned in the afternoon. That's how this game works. Joe Mixon, 14% of the optimal, 7%. I have a lot of interest in that. He's significantly higher than Austin Eckler, but Austin Eckler still 4%. So like some of these guys are going to get squeezed. You can't just you can't get all of the best running back plays in, right? Ownership wise, we could see people lean back into Fournette. All the people that just watch Tom Brady defer his touchdowns for Leonard Fournette might just go back there. Who knows? The ownership thing on Brady is something that I'm keeping a very, very close eye on right now because what the difference is last week Brady was projecting to be like massive chalk. Now the ownership is all over the place. Some people have him at 20%. Some people have him at 8%. So it depends on what you think. The leverage, if the Tom Brady stacks are going to be super chalky, the leverage that you get from Fournette is pretty nice. But Fournette last week sub 5%. Now he's closer to 20. Totally different. So that's what we got to keep in mind here. Let's talk about Antonio Gibson. I find it interesting, at the very least, that since we had the Sony stuff open up, that Antonio Gibson has actually fallen a decent amount here in the optimal lineups. 62% or 6,200 is an amazing price tag. He's massively underpriced for the volume that he's been getting, right? But this is one of those plays that I prefer to have Antonio Gibson in the flex because if you're in a position where your lineup is doing really well, sure. Let it ride with Antonio Gibson. He's a great play in over 10%, 13% of the optimal lineups. But this is one of these things that we look at here. And if you have a team that's struggling, I personally don't think you can stay on Antonio Gibson. I think it's bad. But if you have him in your flex, 6,200, maybe we make that pivot. And what would those pivots be? I think this is pretty relevant. So let's talk about at that salary range at 4 p.m. We're looking at 6,200 for Gibson. So you could move up to Kittle, but Kittle's going to be popular. If you have enough salary to get to someone like Claypool, I think he would probably be my preference. Touchdown scorer, sub 10% ownership. You could always move down to one of the LA wide receivers. It seems a little bit more thin. So my advice, if you are going to be playing Antonio Gibson, number one, You play him in the flex. Number 2, leave enough salary to be able to pivot that to Chase Claypool. So that's, you have to have 300 left at the end of that to be able to make that easy pivot. And, or, I mean, if it's a non-Sony team, you could always play Sony and then upgrade another position. But you want to be building these lineups to figure out those beforehand. You don't want to be scrambling at 2 p.m. to figure out what to do with Gibson. Make that plan beforehand, okay? Gibson itself, I mean, he's still an amazing play, though, right? Even if McKissick was in, probably still would have been a great play, right? They've started to really give him more of a pass-catching role anyways. And Smallwood, Patterson, like there's really no one else that's going to be playing a ton. So Gibson was someone we've been waiting for him to get this usage, right? Because he is such a strong pass catcher. At least he was in college. So, I mean, I love the play at 6,200. Regardless of what the Sims play say, I still think that he's one of the top plays on the entire slate. I'll have him in a ton of my flex options for sure. JT, we talked about it. I mean, the offensive line versus defensive line, I do like to kind of look at some of that stuff at the tails. This is one of the biggest mismatches we've had the entire year against the Texans. And the Texans are giving up a ton of touchdowns. Like, if JT even gets like his 25 touches in this one, he could just absolutely go nuclear. We've seen him go nuclear in tough spots. And not only is the scheme very strong, like we see this with like the Browns back sometimes. The scheme of the Browns is so good and the offensive line is strong, but also they have Nick Chubb, who's very talented and can break big plays. Same kind of thing with Jonathan Taylor. So that's one that's like really standing out to me. It sounds like you guys are on it in the chat also. He is our top voted elite running back right now. Madison, we already kind of talked about him. I like that they priced him up though, because I think he might end up being a decent option for us in mini stacks in that game potentially. But let's move to a different poll here. See if I missed anything in the chat. Love the pivot talk. I want to do more of that, and we'll build some lineups to actually show that in practice. Maybe we do that now. Let's build a lineup quickly. I'll show you guys what we're talking about here. So let's go ahead and put Gibson in the flex. I guess I'm gonna have to put some running backs in here first. Let's build a Minshew team, just to give you guys an idea of like the super teams you can build with this guy. So let's go Minshew. I haven't talked about Devontae yet, but the Jets are one of those teams that obviously they can be beat everywhere, but it's extremely positive in terms of the matchup deep. They give up a ton of big plays. 28th in QBR allowed to deep balls. So Devonta Smith, one of those guys that we would hope that the volume's going to come up a little bit in the passing game. Like, please, God. But Devonta Smith at 6K could look pretty nice with Minshew as just like a little bit of a skinny stack at a cheaper price tag. Let's put in JT here. What are the running backs we want? Let's go to Sony. Let's just say that Sony's in. That'll give us some flexibility as well. Gibson in the flex. So now we probably need to think through like what a mini stack could be here. Preferably a 1 p.m. mini stack. So kind of the first thing that I do with this is I want to get an idea of where the potential like leverage could be at 1 p.m. So to me, that might be the Minnesota guys in some ways, but also I've kind of come around a little bit on the Chargers. So Austin Eckler is extremely expensive, and we already have our running backs filled out in this one, but that's one that would make some sense. We could do a mini stack with DeAndre Hopkins if you think that he's going to be a factor in that game. There's a couple different directions we could go. I kind of like the idea of doing a mini stack with Justin Jefferson. Or we could just go with a one-off Justin Jefferson. I still think that he's going to be relatively low. Apparently I can't type. And where are we at? If we were to put in Miami, we could move up from Sony to Jamal. So we'd have the Jamal and Justin Jefferson mini stack. We got our skinny stack with Minshew and Devonta. And then we got our JT. So that's probably good for that in terms of the late game. Do we have to play Moreau on this team? We could do a mini with Moreau, and then what does that get us? I'm not really big on playing Foster Moreau unless it gets you to something that you're really trying to get to for ceiling, right? So at that point, we could go with, I mean, a lot of these alphas, right? The way that I think it makes some sense, though, is you get in like a premium mini stack here. So you go Gibson, McLaurin, bring it back with Foster. I think that's fine. And at that point, we could move up a little bit at defense. No, we talked about being able to get 300 available for Gibson. So at that point, I would probably move off of Miami down, actually. So we could go Chargers against Cincinnati, since we don't have any of those pieces in here. We could move all the way down to Detroit and upgrade somewhere else. So if we went down all the way to Detroit, can we upgrade tight end and still leave 300 on the table? We could double with Dallas Goedert and Devonta, 300 on the table. So then if this goes terribly, this double stack, this gets an example. If this goes terribly, at that point, we can move out Gibson, put in Claypool, and then try and decide if we wanted to stay on Terry McLaurin. So it's kind of how I'm piecing my way through this. Like, these are the type of things that we should be doing to have that planned, right? So let's talk about some of the cheaper running backs now. Top cheap running back on the slate: Sony Michel, pending Hendo, Eli Mitchell, Jamal Williams, Miles Sanders, David Montgomery, or other. In order to place your vote, exclamation point vote, space the number. All you have to do is vote to get access to that giveaway at the end of the stream for the Amazon gift card. $20. What are we thinking? Chat, are you live? Okay, now it's flowing. I always get nervous when the poll doesn't move for a little bit. There we go. Sometimes we've broken the polls in the past. All the way up to 316 people have subscribed to the new channel. Appreciate you guys. It is the pin tweet in the chat right now. My goal is to get it to 1,000 by kickoff. That might have been lofty, but if we do it, I'm going to be giving away a Justin Herbert rookie card, as you guys can see over on Twitter. At Joe Holka, pin tweet, retweet, like, you're in the drawing as long as you subscribe. It's probably the quickest thing you can do to enter. Maybe 1,000 was a little bit lofty, but I don't know. We've gotten over 100, I think, since I made the event today. So we'll see. See if we can get there. How's this poll looking so far? All I got to do is say it, and a couple people click that button. How amazing is that? I love that we have the live ticker down here. I might leave this for a few weeks. Sweet. Sony Michel, Eli Mitchell getting a ton of love. People want to go back to the Eli Mitchell train. Some people are saying Rex Burkhead in the chat. That's one I can't necessarily wrap my head around. Tua or Minshew today? I think Minshew offers more in roster construction, Brandon, personally. Jacobs is a great pivot as well, Tina. I'm with you on that. What threshold is cheap? I'm not sure, Frost. Kind of just wanted to get some of these. There's so many good running back plays that I wanted to get some of these other guys in a poll. Get your take on them. Because as you're building lineups, like, these are the guys you're going to kind of be deciding between, I think, in this range. If you can't get up to the other guys we talked about, right? These polls are not perfect. Nor am I. Mitchell really isn't that cheap. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. He's 7,600 on FanDuel. He probably shouldn't be in this poll. I was curious, like, what you guys thought of him, though, because he is going to be chalky. Burkhead on 1 p.m. only slate popping in the Sims. Interesting. All in on Minshew, Carlos says. See, I feel like people are going to see that, and it's going to be actually a more comfortable thing to do than people realize. I don't know. Could be. A lot of Sony love here, regardless of putting Eli in this chat. What's not surprising is that Jamal Williams and David Montgomery, no one wants to play these guys. That is not surprising at all. No one wants to play those guys literally ever. So if we move over to the Sims for a second, this is runthesims.com. If you guys have just seen this for the first time. If you have not, you'll see it a lot on the channel. At running back, though, the cheaper end, we already talked about Sony Michel. Let's run them again, see if they updated any of the inputs here. I want to see Rex Burkhead in here for the people that just want to blow him up in the chat. Sony Michel, 38% optimal rate. Jamal Williams, still 18% optimal rate at 6,500. It's like, those are the cheap guys, in my opinion. And I know a lot of people aren't going to want to go to the Jamal Williams route, but we've seen Detroit regardless, just like, they love this guy, right? And he catches passes, all of those things, like game script. Like, this is a play where you're hoping he's going to catch like 6 balls. Team total's low, though. I understand that side of it for sure. Rex Burkhead, 11%, 5,300. That one's tougher for me. I get that it's at 1 p.m., though. If you wanted to get different, I just think it's such a massive discrepancy on this D-line versus offensive line matchup to where, like, I could see Burkhead just not being able to get anything going, right? Like, what are 15 touches for Burkhead worth if he's just going to ram into this D-line the whole game? I don't know. I'm struggling a little bit with the ceiling. I mean, 5,300, it makes sense. I guess think Sony is such a better play, but obviously he's going to be much higher owned. So, yeah, I get the play. I guess I can't completely get on board with it. I think where it would make sense potentially is on like a Michael Pittman mini stack. So maybe instead of JT, you go Pittman, Burkhead. I could see that being something that would make some sense. Pittman's someone that we haven't talked about wide receiver yet, obviously, but he's popping in the Sims a bit. He's someone that got a ton of air yards last week. Didn't really realize those air yards, but I could see that being a reasonable mini stack. I'm talking myself into it a little bit. Elijah Mitchell. Let's talk about a couple of these guys, right? So Elijah Mitchell, like, it comes down to Kyle Shanahan is obsessed with this guy. And we know he did never like Trey Sermon. He never, you know what I mean? Like, that stuff matters. So he's going to get almost all the work on early downs, and he's even had a little bit of work through the air that we didn't necessarily expect. He had 6 targets last week. So it comes down to the scheme that this team is extremely run heavy, and Mitchell is going to be like a massive part of that. And he's 7,600. So I'm not sure why I put him in this list at 7,600. I just wanted to include Eli Mitchell. And there's not really much more to say about those guys, I don't think. Miles Sanders is one that we got to have a conversation about here, though. Because I believe I played Miles Sanders on my main team last week. I'm trying to remember. And where I think we made a mistake with Miles Sanders is there's so many other backs that they can go to. They can go to Boston Scott. They can go to all these different guys, right? Now it's a little bit different because there's just a bunch of injuries at the running back position. Obviously, no Jalen Hurts to steal touchdowns potentially. We know Minshew uses legs a little bit. But I think Miles Sanders is on any other week, like, definitely back in play at that price point. Let me show you what I mean. So let's go to running back. Just sort by point per dollar and make it easy. So we got Sony, we got Jamal, we got Burkhead up here at the top as like being strong values. We got to scroll down a little bit to get there. But at 6,600, we still have a ceiling of about 20 points. He's only at 3% ownership. So he's, honestly, I think he's providing a decent amount of leverage today, especially if more people go to Minshew. He's one of those ones that, like, the Jets are just giving it up so deeply to running backs right now that, I don't know, maybe I just can't get away from this guy and I've got issues. But I think Miles Sanders is at least okay. He's in play. Maybe it would have been a better play if we didn't have so many good plays in that range. But if we're talking like Miles Sanders, a guy that we've seen break big plays before in an offense that's extremely run heavy, in a fantastic matchup, like, what's the difference between Jamal Williams and Miles Sanders? Can someone explain that to me? Miles Sanders is going to be much lower owned. I don't know. Maybe you can make an argument that Jamal Williams just has a much higher ceiling because of how active he's in the passing game, all those things. But from a tournament perspective, like, what it comes down to me at least, is Miles Sanders versus Gibson. Of course, we prefer Gibson. But I kind of like that this game is first. So you could take a chance on a Miles Sanders one-off. And if you hit on that, or if you at least pass some of the other guys in this range, if you pass Jamal Williams, you're there, right? You're in a really good position going into the afternoon. New York Jets, absolute worst against running backs. Yeah, I mean, trust me, I've come full circle on this. And at the very beginning of the week, we're like, all right, Miles Sanders, never again. But I mean, things change. Solid picks. Running backs way too strong to play Sanders. I mean, that's the main argument, right? The opportunity cost of playing a guy like that means that you're giving up some of these other fantastic plays. I get it. Let's see where Miles Sanders ends up in the Sims. I'm sure it's not great. We got to scroll a little bit here. Devonta, 6%. Goddard, 6%. Gardner, 4%. Eagles, 4%. We still haven't made it there, unless I passed over it. There it is, 3%. So maybe we trust the Sims here. Maybe I'm forcing the Miles Sanders thing. I just think it's an interesting conversation to have. So let's close that poll up. Let's move to wide receiver. Top. Oh, it says that my poll is not finished. These polls, man. Complete. Boom. All right. Top elite wide receiver. Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin, or other. Price considered. Sub-only vote. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the new channel right here. We got 333. The goal is 1K before kickoff. We'll see if we get there. Family man, yeah, we talked a little bit about Jacobs. I think Jacobs is fine, but he's probably a late swap guy for me, not a core guy. Cooper Kupp so far, first vote. A lot of Justin Jefferson love against this Detroit team also. Any Keenan Allen love. It is, in fact, the Chargers giveaway week on the channel. Look at that. Someone listened to me and subscribed to the new channel. What a guy. Flash, I missed your super chat before. Sorry about that. I know you're still in here, though. $4.99 super chat. Do you need to run it back or mini if you play Gibson today, considering how popular he'll be? I like the flexibility of it for sure, because you could always move that to like a Sony and then move up the mini to something else, right? I think you can mini it for sure. Hi B, thank you for subscribing. By the way, Scott, I totally missed your super chat before as I was going on that rant. That $2 super chat. Freiermuth or Moreau? Better DFS play. Honestly, I love the Freiermuth call. He's going to go pretty much overlooked. He's in the afternoon. I mean, he's been a touchdown scorer. Obviously, he's a little bit banged up, all of those things. At a week where all the ownership is going to condense on Moreau and probably Kittle, I don't hate the idea of just getting a little bit different. That's what it comes down to. For a proven touchdown scorer, easy bring back. One of the mini stacks that I was considering was like a Marquise Brown Freiermuth mini stack. It reminds me a little bit of the Hunter Henry, I can't remember who it was, chalky play mini stack that TJ Hernandez told us about a few weeks ago. So I kind of like the minis with the tight end, and that's one of the ones that stood out to me at lower ownership, the Hollywood and Freiermuth mini. I kind of like that one. If you play Gibson, you got to use Renfro or Moreau. Raiders concentrate without Waller. Yeah. I think if you play Gibson, you could just get super thin with one of the big play guys also, with Zay or with Deshaun. But yeah, I mean, he's still a really strong play. Renfro in particular too. So far, Cooper Kupp is running away with this thing, this poll. Too sharp, guys. It does seem like a slate where there's not as much top-end wide receiver to pay up for. Justin Jefferson is probably going to be half the ownership of Cooper Kupp, maybe a third. So I do have some interest in him. But if we're just looking at the Sims, Cooper Kupp, 26% projected ownership, 20% optimal rate. He is the fourth highest optimal rate player on this slate if we were to simulate it 10,000 times. JT, is it so JT versus Kupp is a decision point that a lot of people are going to have to make today. Saving $1,500 to get to Cooper Kupp, a guy that could separate at the position, is very interesting. And for the record, I think you can play Sony Michel with Cooper Kupp. I don't know why people... I mean, he's 5,300, guys. He has to get in there once, and you're there. Cooper Kupp can easily get there and have a game where Sony Michel can get there at the same time. Massive. It's a big total, right? Second highest total on the slate after Tampa Bay. So yeah, the Sony and Kupp's thing, you can definitely play them together. What else on this poll? Justin Jefferson, I mean, Justin Jefferson is always in play, in my opinion, with how they're using him right now. So I don't think we need to talk about that. He's going to be a target hog. Fantastic. I mean, they don't have anyone in Detroit that can stop him. That's what it comes down to. No Dalvin Cook. Maybe they skew a little bit more pass heavy then. It's hard to get to the Minnesota stacks just because they've been priced up significantly. But I do like it a lot. We're just talking about Freiermuth. Let's talk about Deontay Johnson for a second. He's someone that I don't play a ton. And he definitely has the volume each week. I'm just I get nervous sometimes with Ben, but I mean, one thing that we do know is he's not scared to just throw the ball in the short to intermediate area and just pepper Deontay Johnson with that. And honestly, like defenses kind of just like let that happen. which is fine. So 10 plus targets in 19 of his 26 games over the last 2 years is completely absurd. He's 7,200. Him versus Chris Godwin is a little bit of a tougher decision for me because I do like the team total a lot for Tampa Bay. Like I said, if you're going back to Brady this week, I think it's totally fine. I think you can double him with Godwin and with Gronk. Those would be the two guys that I would pair him with first, then probably Fournette. Tougher spot for Mike Evans if we're just looking into the matchup at all. But he's going to be by far the lowest owned of those as well. Say what you want about the Falcons defense. Let's stay on this for a second. They are the 4th best team in terms of deep ball targets allowed. They are the 4th best team in terms of QBR allowed on deep balls. So who are the guys that catch those short to intermediate area targets? Chris Godwin, 7.5 ADOT. Gronk, 8.9 ADOT, which is very high for a tight end, but still kind of in the short area. And Leonard Fournette. The wrinkle in this that's a little bit frustrating, I guess, is Mike Evans, I believe, scored 2 touchdowns last time these two teams played. So maybe this stuff doesn't matter a ton. So Atlanta, 31st in the league at pressure rate. Tom's going to have all the time in the world back there. 27th in points allowed. 29th in passing points allowed. That's coming for the worksheet over at sharpfootballanalysis.com. Friend of the show, Rich Rebar. Nice little Brady nugget. Had another Fournette nugget that I wanted to touch on as well. 21 of 23 targets over his past 3 games. Leonard Fournette is tied with Austin Eckler for 3rd among all backs and receptions this year, 51. Atlanta has allowed 14 rushing points per game, which is 24th. 12.2 receiving points per game to opposing backfields. So Fournette is still very much in play, in my opinion. I think we probably didn't talk about him enough at the running back section, so I wanted to circle back to that. Godwin, though, for talking about the pass catchers, definitely has the best matchup, in my opinion. Guys like CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Waddle have had really strong games against this Atlanta team, and it's in the dome. Only 10 votes, though. So we got 92 votes on this poll. Only 10 votes for Godwin, which is interesting, because I think Godwin is going to be extremely chalky. Where do these teams land in the Sims? Wide receiver-wise. We talked about Kupp, 20%. Keenan Allen, 14%. Keenan Allen just target hog, hasn't scored a ton of touchdowns. That's my big concern. Gronk's way up there, which is interesting. Gronk actually the highest Tampa Bay outside of Fournette. Brady. Where's Godwin on here? Here we go. 7% at 24% ownership. Oh, it's tough to swallow. I wish he was going to be a little bit lower. I think you differentiate your Godwin with overstacking Tampa Bay. That's what I would do. So there's going to be a ton of Brady, Godwin, Gronk teams, Brady, Godwin teams, but there's not going to be a lot of Brady, Fournette, Godwin, and Gronk teams. That's kind of where I've landed on that. If I'm playing the Brady stack, it's going to be an onslaught, but I play a lot of smaller field tournaments, as you guys know. That reminds me, the Listener League. They made it smaller this week because we haven't been filling it, but it's still not super small. 1,650. What are we at right now? We were 70% full at the start of this stream. What are we at now? We are 75% full. So 1239. Get into the Listener League, fanduel.com/Holka. Break free. 3-entry max, $5. Lots of good stuff. Let's close this poll. Let's talk about some cheaper wide receivers now. We're on one today, guys. This is like one of those slates that there's just so much to talk about. Why do these polls not want to cancel for me today? Do I like Scotty Miller? I've kind of moved away from that a little bit. I think there's better cheap plays, right? And I just would rather have the alphas or like the guys that can, like this is a high scoring slate, right? This is a good thing to talk about before we get into these cheap wide receivers. Because you got to think about what this does to your roster playing these super cheap guys that might not have any sort of ceiling whatsoever. Someone like Josh Reynolds. So where are we at on underpriced wide receivers? I know that some of these guys aren't cheap, but you can make an argument that they're still underpriced. Sub-only vote, Josh Reynolds, Hunter Renfro, Darnell Mooney, Devontae Parker, Brandon Ayuk, or other. We are just about to hit 350 subscribers on the new channel. That's crazy, guys. Thank you so much for the support over there. I wasn't sure how that was going to go, but I'm going to try and do my best to make sure that there is legitimately stuff on that other channel that isn't anywhere else. Bunch of different things. It gives us the ability to do more short form stuff, but also specific videos that might not do very well on the main channel. But for like some of our hardcore DFS players and listeners, I think there's going to be a ton of stuff over there where, I mean, I won't be scared to get a little bit more niche, right? And we could literally have a late swap video. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that can go on the other channel. That can be extremely valuable. So I'm excited to expand a little bit into some of that stuff and do some more content over there. I think it's nice to have like a second base of like where stuff can be. maybe stuff that you guys would be a little bit more pumped about. If you're here on a Sunday morning watching this, you're going to like some of the stuff going up on the other channel. I'll say that. Where we at? Where we at? Man, Flash is just hammering these super chats right now. What a guy. Mixon, Keenan, best mini of the day. I love the Mixon call, man. I love the Mixon call. Maybe Mixon's the one that gets squeezed in that range. I go back and forth if it's going to be Mixon or Eckler. In terms of wide receivers, though, I know we haven't talked about Jamar Chase. One of the minis that I think is going to gain a little bit of love in the GPP community is Austin Eckler with Jamar Chase. I do have some concerns. And I'm a Jamar Chase guy. Like, you guys know this at this point. But Cincinnati has been playing slower, like we talked about. And we know the Chargers can kind of speed things up a little bit, but they didn't really do that last week against Denver. Keenan Allen also #1 in weighted opportunity rating over the last 4 games. I always forget to mention that. Weighted opportunity rating is probably the most predictive metric at wide receiver just because it takes into consideration target market share, takes into consideration market share of air yards. So, yeah, Keenan Allen is a great play. But in terms of Jamar Chase, like, the Chargers still kind of want to keep things in front of them a little bit, right? They haven't really given up a ton to the boundaries and these deeper passes, especially if there's going to be more running overall in this game. I have some concerns with Jamar Chase at that price, but he will pop as like a nice ceiling option at low ownership. I just don't know if it's going to be for me. But I like both the running backs in that game, for the record. Mixon and Eckler. If people don't want to go in that range, if they rather go up to JT or go down to like Madison, something like that, I think that those running backs could end up looking like amazing tournament plays today. We've seen the volume be just crazy on both sides, through the air, touchdown upside, all those things we want for FanDuel, right? How about a DFS flyer on O'Shaughnessy for the Jags? Brandon, I don't mind that. Thank you for that super chat. If you're trying to get different from Moreau, and we'll get to tight end here shortly, O'Shaughnessy is one of those guys that I think is definitely in play. Lower total, but I think it's fine. Ayuk is not cheap. Yeah, no, underpriced, right? Like, you can make an argument that he's still underpriced. New type of role. We still don't know what Ayuk's going to be able to do with this new role, right? Without Debo. And I think that another part of it is, like, Kittle is going to be massively chalky. Talked about Zay Jones a little bit, Ryan. I think Zay Jones is interesting. Again, a team that can be beat deep. If everyone wants to kind of run into the Deshaun Jackson stuff, like, it's possible Zay Jones is the one that catches the deep ball. There's going to be a deep ball in that game. You can book that one. This poll is one of the most spread out ones we've had so far. Hunter Renfro. Getting some decent love. We haven't talked about him much, but I think that he's been basically one of the most secure weapons in that offense. Honestly, he's been getting there more than even like Darren Waller. And the Sims agree. So if we're looking at some of these cheaper, I guess, underpriced wide receivers, whatever you want to call it, Hunter Renfro, 6,400, 17% of the optimals. Yet people don't really like to play this guy. He's going to be popular in stacks, I think, with or just with Gibson, McLaurin, those type of plays. He'll be an easy bring back on the other side of that. I'm actually kind of intrigued with Renfro as a one-off, as more of just like leverage off of Moreau a little bit. But yeah, I'm not sure if it is a nice price, and he's popping in optimals everywhere. I personally, I have a hard time clicking him as well, but the upside is a little bit greater than I think we think. Darnell Mooney is an interesting one just because there are some injuries there. Goodwin, I believe, is still out in this game. Montgomery is catching a little bit of steam here. But Darnell Mooney, like, we've seen like that his target share is extremely safe, right? He's 6,700. Maybe Arizona clamps down on him a little bit, but guys, we're talking about 24 targets in the last 2 games. He's got 150 yards receiving, and no one's talking about him. The game environment's not good, and it's a chance that there's some weather there. We talked about that a little bit. 15 mile per hour sustained winds, which is, I mean, kind of that threshold that we don't want to be a part of. So maybe this Arizona and Chicago game is a little bit gross, and Kyler's coming back, Nuke's coming back potentially. But yeah, I think that Mooney would be the piece on the other side that I would have some interest in. I don't think a lot of people are going to go there. And he's popping the Sims a little bit. Brandon Ayuk is, again, we just talked about it. He's a decent amount of leverage off of Kittle. His price is not great, right? But let's think about this from a game theory perspective, right? On the other side, a lot of people are just going to play Ayuk because he's still very, very cheap. On FanDuel, he's $7K, I believe. Let me make sure I have this right. Where are you, Ayuk? 7K. He's only 5% of the optimals at that price. But sometimes just playing the player, we talked about this, I think it was, we're talking about defense. Playing the player on the site where he's clearly the worst value, but he's still a good play, can just get you much lower ownership in tournaments. And if Ayuk ends up hitting, you'll be one of the only guys that took advantage of that. And he's going to take probably a decent amount of that short area work that Debo was getting. He's obviously not going to get the rushing type of benefit, but it's a big opportunity for Brandon Ayuk. We talked about him with Harmon earlier this week. I think he's great. Devontae Parker, I think, is going to end up being like a popular paydown option. I'm not super on board with Parker. I think he's okay. I don't necessarily think that he fits this offense that well. And I think that Waddle, not a lot changes for him. We talked to Harmon about this as well. And the way that the way that Tua and his skill set suits and what they're trying to do this offense overall, like Parker's not like that seamless fit. We've talked about that with the Jets wide receivers a few times this year also. So I think Parker and his price is great. I don't necessarily think that he's like a lock by any means. Josh Reynolds is kind of interesting. Game script wise, it's such a brutal total. But Goff, like, say we want about Goff, he can find someone that makes him feel comfortable, and he will just pepper them with targets. So we only had 5 targets last week, but played 43 of 49 snaps, 70 yards and a touchdown. He's still just so cheap, 5,100. 5,100. So when I think a lot of people are going to try and find salary relief in that game through Jamal Williams, I don't hate the idea of Josh Reynolds. It's just one of those situations where this slate is going to be so high scoring. It's a little bit thin, in my opinion, to just know that you're going to cap your upside with a Reynolds play in your lineup. Does that make sense? Parker came in for 1 game since week 4 and he got 11 targets. I mean, the volume is great and the price is great. I'm just saying. The Devontae Parker that we remember was in a totally different offense as like the alpha, right? So I think he's okay. I mean, it's a price thing, right? I'm not really in love with that game overall. It's just such a low total. But yeah, I think if you got in a box and you're trying to decide between Devontae Parker and Josh Reynolds, I just am probably going to have more of this Vikings game anyway. So by default, I'll have mini stacks with Reynolds if that happens. I don't know. The one-off Parker play is tougher for me. Any love for T.Y. Hilton as a paydown option? I mean, just play T.Y. Hilton against Houston, right? I don't very rarely ever do that, but that's the narrative. And if he gets there, we'll be talking about it on Twitter. T.Y. Houston in the chat, Swaggy says, yeah. What are Leone's secret plays today? I hope he tells us. Last time on the Tilt Space, he gives all of us his secondary plays and then just wins the Thunderdome for 60K again. Tough scene. So yeah, Tilt Space on the ETR channel later today, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you guys join up for that. Let's do one last thing here before we move on to tight end. I know we've had some people trickling in throughout the day. On my Twitter account, pin tweet, I'm going to be giving away a Justin Herbert rookie card. All you have to do is subscribe to the new channel and like and retweet this. We've already gotten up to about 65, and then we are giving away this Keenan Allen massive photo jersey. Same thing. It's on my Twitter. Like and retweet. You fill out the Pristine Auction form, which takes literally 15 seconds, and it's free. And subscribe to the new channel. So we've gotten to 360 so far. It'd be cool if we got up to 1,000 because that's how we're going to give away the Herbert card. But man, just getting up to like where we're at right now when I just started this channel like 3 days ago is amazing. It took me years to get to 1,000 before. So thanks so much for the support, guys. What else? Let's talk about tight end for a second. And then we'll go to some stacks. We'll build some lineups. I have a bunch of community lineups to go through, and then we'll give away that gift card. We'll get you guys out of here. Tight end. George Kittle, Kyle Pitts, Foster Moreau, Rob Gronkowski, and Logan Thomas, or other. Where are we at on tight end right now with price considered? Exclamation point, vote, space, the number. It is a sub-only vote. Don't forget to subscribe to the main channel if you haven't already. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get to 500 by the end of the stream on the new channel. That would be so sick. There is a link that will literally do it for you. It's a one-click ask I have from you guys. It's pinned in the chat. It will take one click for you guys to do that. And it would really help me out. What do we think about tight end here, guys? Are we eating the Foster Moreau chalk? That's like one of the main questions of the day, right? Are we going back to Rob Gronkowski? A revitalized Rob Gronkowski? Massive total. We going to George Kittle with no Debo? We're going back to George Kittle after he just like disappeared last week. Does George Kittle break the slate at 6,300? Like Foster Moreau at this price, 5K, or George Kittle for 1,300 more. Think about that today when you're building your rosters and you're figuring out what defense to play. If you have Foster Moreau in your lineup, think about what you would have to do to get to Kittle. A real ceiling. Or Gronk, right? We can talk about Gronk as like a ceiling guy at this point too, right? Frost thinks that Moreau gets in the box, and he's in play, man. If you think that he can score a touchdown, that might be all he needs. You just are basically fading that Gronk and Kittle have the ceiling performance, which is totally fine, man. That could definitely be it. We got some O'Shaughnessy love in the chat. That's a pivot. Renfro's been tearing it up. Could be. Again, guys, these votes, so I know the tight end stuff isn't as exciting, but if you vote in any of these polls, you get access to the giveaway that we'll do at the end for the Amazon gift card. Let's see. I'm going to give it one more second here, and then we're going to move over to probably my favorite poll. All right, so looks like Gronk is your guys' tight end of choice. Let's check out the Sims here. You guys have probably already seen the spoiler on this. The top tight end on the slate in terms of optimal rate is George Kittle. He's 15% at about 15% ownership. We have, if we move down a little bit, Gronkowski is the second highest tight end at 12.6% at 5% ownership. So that's another thing too, right? Gronk is 7K. It's more comfortable probably for most people who gets to play Kittle for 700 less. So maybe Gronk ends up being a little bit different this week. I don't know. The paying up for Gronk thing in the past has not gone well for Joe, but we'll see this week where we get to. It takes a little while to go down, though. Mark Andrews, 8%, low ownership. Kyle Pitts, 8%. To get to Foster Moreau, 21% ownership projection, 7% optimal rate. It's kind of like the Minshew thing, right? Like it makes a lot of things in your lineup work. But if we're talking about large field tournaments, I think you need more ceiling. Small field tournaments, it might make more sense, right? Because then you can get up to your JTs, your Cups, your Fournettes, your James Connors over some of these secondary running backs or whatever it may be, Justin Jefferson. So small field, I think it makes sense to be able to do a little bit more of a stars and scrubs approach today. Large field, I think you're going to need more ceiling because there's so many good plays. That's kind of like going to be my official stance on this, I think. Aaron likes Freiermuth. I like that mini stack again with Freiermuth and Hollywood Brown. I'm with you on that. Thomas is interesting because I feel like that stack with Heineke was getting a ton of love earlier in the week, and now no one's talking about it. Philly's talking about Thomas in the chat, so he's back to 100%. Excellent matchup. Yeah, I think that Logan Thomas is fine. Let's go over a lineup here from the tier 2s and tier 3s. Let's see what we got. Brandon Ricker was the first one I saw today, so that's what we're going to go to first. Brandon Ricker has a Brady stack. We got Brady, Godwin, Gronk, and we're bringing it back with with Kyle Pitts. So we got a double tight end team with Gronk and Pitts. I mean, you guys know, Brandon, you know how I feel about double tight end, my man. I think it's okay. I just think on this slate specifically, it's potentially bad because there's so much opportunity cost at running back. I do feel that way. So I'm not necessarily on board with this build. Some of the other stuff we have in here, Claypool, Bateman, mini stack, I think will be super low. So I think that's kind of interesting. Sony Michel to make it all work, and Joe Mixon Joe Mixon's going to end up being a decent leverage option, I think, here. Bengals defense at 3,900. Nice pivot off of Miami at 4K. Also, we've seen like Herbert's imploded at times this year. So I actually don't hate the Bengals defense call either. So yeah, my only issue with it is probably just the two defenses, my man. Let's see what else we got in here. A-Web on the other side of that game. We got a Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Bringing it back with no one on Cincy. We have a JT, Gibson, and Nico Collins. Same kind of thing, guys. Like I don't think the Nico Collins in the flex thing is even really that viable today. I really don't. I like the mini stack with Taylor. I like the idea. I like the direction you're going. I guess what I would say here is like Van Jefferson as a one-off. If you're dead set on playing Nico Collins, just put him in there and then figure out a better flex. If you have to move down somewhere in order to get to one of these running backs, I really do think that's the play this week. Maybe try and figure out a way to get something from Cincinnati on the other side of this. Statutory ape. Matthew Stafford with Cooper Kupp, Sony Michel, and Van Jefferson. So the onslaught of the Rams. I like it. I like it. We got Leonard Fournette. So we're playing that Leonard Fournette leverage again, hopefully. And then we got Gibson in here. Deontay. George Kittle. This is like essentially a Rams onslaught with optimal the rest of the way, mostly, right? I don't mind that. With Colts defense in here at 4,500, paying up to be contrarian. I kind of like this build. This is like a really nice small field build, I think. I think this is sharp. I think this is really sharp. Before we get to any of the other polls, let's actually no, let's do the stacks poll. This is the best one. This is the most fun one. I was gonna wait till we got to 100, but top game stack: Tampa Bay at Atlanta, LAC at Cincy, Jax at LA, Minnesota at Detroit, Washington at Las Vegas, Baltimore at Pittsburgh. Exclamation point vote space the number. Where are we at here? All right. What are we thinking on game stacks today? We do have a couple more lineups to go through from the community, which we will. We got a lineup from Frost in there, a lineup from Mitchell. I didn't forget about you guys. Let's get through this stacks poll, though. Put Nico Collins in there so people wouldn't dupe him. Yeah, don't dupe the lineups in here, guys. Come on. Doesn't help anyone. You want to hold hands at the top? I don't want to hold hands with anyone. 241 likes right now, guys, on this video. That might be like a new record for us on a Sunday. I love that. Thank you so much. We might break 400 on the second channel also, which would be awesome. Even if we don't hit that 1K, we'll figure out a way to give away that Herbert rookie card. Maybe we'll extend that to next week or something if we don't get there. I'm dedicated to giving that away to one of you guys just for supporting on that second channel. Are we going to fill up the listener league, guys? It made me a little bit sad that they made it smaller. This time of year, people start to lose interest a little bit. I get that. Let's fill up the listener league, man. Let's do that. One of the best places to put your money in all of DFS, no doubt. Rest of the games seem one-sided. Who would be the Ian Warner? All right, let's do it. Ian Warner. He's got this question every week. I respect that he is here every week, and I appreciate that. Who is the one player who's going to be the highest scoring player on the slate, regardless of price, position, or ownership? Whew. I'm tempted to go Lamar Jackson, but the quarterback play or the quarterback call is, I think, a little bit too easy. Let's go JT. Highest ceiling on the slate. Let's go JT. What else we got in here? A lot of love for this this Chargers and Cincy stack. Much more than I expected, actually. I don't think that game's going to be super heavily owned. Could be wrong. Miles Sanders allergic to the end zone. Facts. Can we see the optimal list again? Oh, yeah, we'll go back there in a second, Hunter. Cooper Kupp. It's Lamar or JT. I'm with you, Paul. Jeffrey, thank you for subscribing, my man. Dakota also. Dakota's Double Take. Danielle Lindsay. Some new subscribers on the main channel today as well. I appreciate you. I think Brady's interesting too, Warner. He's up there with Lamar. Najee Harris. Tough matchup for him, but he's going to be so low. Justin Jefferson. I'd love to see that, Logan. SF at Seattle is Chiefs' favorite stack. Maybe. I think that game has the potential to get gross, but you never know. What is your threshold on field size to play Minshew? That's a really good question, Anthony. 1,000 probably. Maybe even 500. You just need such crazy upside to take down these larger tournaments. And large to me is anything over 500, so let's be real. I think that Minshew is potentially bad in that stuff. Rocky, morning, my man. Love it. Joey Donnelly, Lamar under-owned. Make it work. Yeah, the Lamar thing, the more I think about it, just makes a ton of sense. Flip the build. Justin Jefferson reminds me of how Devontae plays. I think that's disrespect to Justin Jefferson, personally. A lot of LAC love. Interesting, though. Let's get to 100 votes on this, guys. This is one of our most important polls of the week. We'll touch on a couple more of these lineups. Let's do that. We'll start with Mitchell here, because he's already got a Lamar team. Lamar to Marquise Brown. Bring back with Freiermuth. Like it. And then we have a Sony Michel and Sony Michel one-off, which is totally fine. We have the mini stack with Patterson and Evans, the lowest owned pieces of this game. I actually like that strategy a lot. Patterson's like kind of a tough sell for me just because this week there's so many good running back plays. I get it, but like if we trust the Sims, last week we didn't trust them. The only thing I would say here is maybe try and figure out a way not to have Marquise Brown in the flex. And the way you'd have to do that would probably just be by not paying up to be contrarian, though I know what you're doing here with the Rams. So what I would maybe think about doing is move down Rams and then upgrade your one-off Boyd play to Marquise Brown. And then somewhere, I bet you have some room in the flex to mess around with that a little bit. I like the build. And I actually like Boyd as like kind of a contrarian play in that game because he's going to be super low, and that's where you beat the Chargers in the middle of the field. All of those things. He's super cheap. We didn't talk about Boyd enough. This is a well-constructed team outside of maybe massage it a little bit to get a running back in the flex, but I wouldn't kill you for running this one out. Frost, we got a Brady stack for Frost today. Brady, Godwin, Evans, bring back with Kyle Pitts. Okay, nice. We have a Myles Gaskin at 6,400. I think there's a lot of volume here. On any other week, I thought Gaskin and Montgomery would end up getting steamed up and be extremely popular. I don't know at this point. Everyone's going to play Gibson in that range, so I think Gibson's still fine in this team for sure. Josh Reynolds, to make this all work and this is the reason you're able to get Cooper Kupp in, right? The premium double for Brady is kind of interesting because I don't think Evans is going to be popular at all. I think Fournette is going to be popular and maybe Gronk too. So maybe just putting Godwins and Evans as the double, like the main double, is kind of a sharp way to go. I like this. Maybe we find a defense we like at 4 p.m. just because there's a lot of 1 p.m. players in this. Your leverage, though, is good, though, right? Because you have Kupp and you have Gibson at 4 p.m. So you could easily pivot this to something else if you wanted to. If you're in trouble, right? I like it. King. We got another Lamar stack in here. Lamar. Andrews. So no Hollywood. And then we're going to bring it back with Claypool. Okay. We got the DK Metcalf one-off. Man, I just can't get there on DK. Sorry, Eli Mitchell and DK Mini. I just don't know if I can get there on that one. And I wish if like something that's going to be lower owned like this, I prefer to have it 1 p.m. than at 4. Like Metcalf is going to be a late swap only player for me probably with what they've been doing with just this offense as a whole. But it's going to be low, so I get that. Gibson, Jamal. So we're going chalk at running back, and then we're getting weird in the middle. Like that's a decent strategy though overall. And we're paying up to be contrarian at defense. I guess the one thing about this lineup that you're basically fading JT and Kupp. I haven't built many teams without at least one of those guys today. But with Lamar, it's definitely a totally different type of build anyway. A-Web. The last lineup we're going to go through from the community today. We got Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Bring it back with Mixon. Okay. Like it. Sony one-off. So Sony and Jefferson, excuse me. Terry McLaurin in the flex. Foster Moreau, mini stack here. Same story, guys. I just prefer to have a running back in the flex today. I'm going to have a lot of Gibson in the flex just because it'll give you flexibility to move if you need to. This is a pretty chalky team, I would say, outside of Mike Williams maybe. So I think this one can be massaged a little bit more. Maybe the Herbert doubles don't go as high as I think. Earlier in the week, I thought they could be pretty popular, but maybe not. Godwin matched up with Richie Grant from Atlanta today. Richie is allowing catches at an 89% catch rate, highest this weekend. Man, Godwin's a great play, family man, so I'm on board with that for sure. Dolphins Jefferson or Detroit Kupp? Ben, you're just teeing me up to show off this tool at Run the Sims, because this is, the 2v2s are actually better for the rangefinder. So what are we looking at here? So we go Detroit and Cup. Can we do defenses on here? Maybe we can't. I thought we could. Unless someone gets doing this wrong. See defenses anywhere? We're going to have to add that. We're going to have to add that. So was the question. Jefferson, Dolphins, or Detroit Cup? I think it's Detroit Cup for me. It's very close, though. Ayuk versus Mooney in The Sims. Let's check that out. They're both a little bit lower than I expected. But I remember seeing Mooney down here for sure. Komet. Bears. Is he down this far? I must have passed him. Let's scroll up. There he is. Mooney, 9%. Ayuk. Did we pass Ayuk yet? Nope. I would imagine Ayuk at price is going to be a little further down here. Yeah, so Ayuk, 5%. Some ownership differences there, but no, I think the both. I guess it's Mooney. If you're going straight off of The Sims, it's probably Mooney. How do you subscribe? There's a big red button, Rocky. And there's also a big link at the top of the chat if you're talking about the secondary channel, or a link in the description. Who's going to be the 400th sub to the new channel? That might happen before we sign off today. That'd be cool. I'm going to try and answer as many of these questions as we can, though. And then we're going to close out this poll. We got to give away the Amazon gift card. I forgot 2 weeks ago and had to give it away for double last week. One last poll. This one's the most important poll I have probably ever done my entire career as a fantasy football content creator. I don't know. What is my career at this point? My career is like hanging out with you guys, I'm pretty sure. Are you subscribed to the new YouTube channel? Exclamation point, vote, space the number. Yes, you are. No, you hate fun. One or the other. Last poll of the day, and then we're going to give away the Amazon gift card. Are you subscribed to the new channel? Does this make us go over 400? It's one click away. Could do it. Look at all these people that have subscribed. 32 people so far have subscribed to the new channel. No one hates fun in here? I find that hard to believe. 400. Let's go. We did her. 57 people so far, all yeses. It means a lot that you guys are willing to click something for me. The one click subscribe is the best. 402, 403. Let's go. Let's go. I'm going to answer some questions here as we leave this one up. If I win something this week because someone else isn't paying attention, I'd like to keep it that I've never won. All right, sounds good. I hate fun, but still subbed. Kyle, what a guy. Kyle, you've been with us forever, man. I appreciate the support. Keegan Duffy in the chat. What's up, Keegro? Keegan, you're close, man. I feel like there's going to be a big week for you very soon. Very soon, man. Hope you're doing well. I will definitely see you at Mike's wedding. Couple new subscribers to the main channel as well. Jax, Dominic Brown. Probably the most super chats we've ever gotten today, which is insane. Definitely not required, but I appreciate you guys as well. 290 likes. It's been a great show. Can't get there clean from the YouTube channel? What do you mean, Kyle? Can you explain that? This is the week. Feeling it. I hope so, man. You got some big lineups already. I won the Barkley and Joe already forgot. I didn't forget. Dude, there's so many moving parts, Joey. I remember that you won something. I didn't remember that you won the Barkley jersey. The app, sorry. So if you click something on the app, it doesn't bring you to subscribe. Would it try, Kyle, try the link in the description for me and let me know if that works. I would love to figure out the best way to do it for mobile because I know a lot of people are probably watching this on your phone right now. Tina, appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, almost 420 subs on the new channel. The app. Who should we raid today? Peter or Sal? I think we did Pete last time. Pete's got 180 people watching him right now. How many Sal got? Sal's got 400 people watching him right now. I'll leave it up to you guys. Sal or Pete today? Josh says always Peter. Brandon says Sal. Winter Bell, Pete. Sal, Pete. Sal, Pete. Sal, Pete. It's like literally half and half. Are we going to have to do a poll? Sal talks too fast. A lot of Pete's. Pete's fun to raid. We did make it over 420 subs. Pete for the win. Both. Pete. All right. We're going to go Pete today. Pete deserves to be way over 100 people. Or way over 180 people. That is completely absurd. Oh, we got to give away the gift card. I almost did it again. Almost didn't give away the gift card again. Why is my name in this? You didn't see that?
Do you know who none of you mentioned? None of you mentioned Fournette.
That was weird. We clicked on this. My name was on here. Peter's probably talking shit. All right. Let's do the giveaway here. I got to set up the wheel. Got the wheel of names for the $20 Amazon gift card. All right. Copy those over. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? We haven't spun the wheel today. We had to do it at least once. So you do have to be here to claim this. Amazon gift card. Let's close these ads. This wheel just wants to give me ads all the time. What's that all about? $20 Amazon gift card. In order to get, if you haven't gotten to this drawing this week, all you have to do is vote next time. You've been sitting here lurking. That's fine. Is the Keenan Allen jersey giveaway today? The Keenan Allen jersey giveaway is going to be tomorrow on stream, because I want to give it as much time as possible to get people to go to my Twitter and retweet those, all that sort of stuff. I'm ridiculous. Are you here? Do you like Amazon? You like free stuff? I'm ridiculous. That is the username. Who's it going to be? We can always spin it again. We have the technology to do that. He was here before, for sure. Yeah, that's the username, all right. We're going to give it another second. And someone was asking how you get into the drawings. This Keenan Allen stuff. I'm going to draw this tomorrow during the live stream. So, pin tweet. Very easy to find. There's a form in there to register with Pristine Auction. Anyone that's done it will tell you it's extremely easy to do. All right, let's spin the wheel again. Yeah, we're going to Pete today, Danny P. Instead of Amazon, you should be doing a FanDuel $20 credit. That'd be nice. See if we can get FanDuel to pay for that. Kyle, are you in here? Kyle Armour, are you here? I've seen your name multiple times today. $20 Amazon gift card. We have to make this work because I have to be able to get a hold of you. So someone needs to, whoever wins needs to DM me on Twitter or something. Kyle, are you here? Kyle's here. Let's go. 2 spins today. Just 2 spins. Kyle, can you DM me in Discord? I would appreciate that. I would appreciate that. Uncle Sleep 46 live TV, new subscriber. New subscriber for Bryson. Greg Barker. 425 on the new channel. What a day. What a day. All right. Should we get you over to Pete? Let's get this link. All right, guys. You guys know the drill. We're spamming. We are back in Peter's chat. We're spamming it. We're spamming it. Until he, acknowledges us. We're spamming it. So Pete is at 283 now. Maybe you guys have already started moving over there. I don't know. We'll see. A couple We Are Backs already. Richard's the first We Are Back I see. Who else is going in there? Josh, you're absolutely welcome, my friend. Thank you for being here. Trevor, you as well. Appreciate you guys. Spin game was strong today. Agreed. Agreed. All the We Are Backs in the chat. Let's do it.
And I just love that
All the we
that
are
Eagles
backs.
game, or sorry, that Bengals Chargers.
Darius
game
says
so
he
much
guesses
that
he'll
I
go
haven't
subscribe to
in
the new
my
channel. Oh, man.
initial GPP shells.
Uncle Sleep,
gotten
thank you,
there.
man. New fan.
I don't
Hey,
hate
we
it.
do this as a
I
group,
don't
man.
hate it.
It's
He's
fun to
gonna
do this on
project
Sunday with
pretty
everyone
well
here.
at that price tag. So right off the bat,
Pete's running the
here,
Sims as well.
Ignore this projected own because this clearly doesn't.
A lot of we are backs. Look at this. So we're all the way up to 310 on Pete right now. Can we get Pete up to 350?
I don't know. Smith said earlier 40%.
That would be awesome. Pete loves the Holka crew. Pete is the man. Pete is like, honestly, like he's very entertaining, obviously. One of the best small field GPP players like that there is right now. GPP players in general. He thinks about the game the right way. He talks to a lot of really smart people throughout the week. So if you're really looking to get in the weeds, he definitely has a lot of really strong takes, I think, and even just like strong information on his channel, talking to a lot of some of the best DFS players in the world. And obviously the Tilt Space, 6 p.m. ETR channel. We'll see you guys there. I'll see the tier 3 members later on in the Discord. Appreciate all you guys. How do you get to Pete? We're going to spam the link a couple more times here. That's how you get in there. We got 333. Let's get Pete to 350. Let's do it. Let's get Pete to 350. We still have 400 people just hanging out in this chat. We're done, guys. We're done.
Our legion. You are resilient.
There it is. We got super chat. We are back.
Good morning. Is OBJ going to play today? Cup 24%.
332. I'm not leaving until we get to 350. I'm not leaving.
I mean, with all of this value, now that we have Sony Michel and Foster Moreau, like,
I'm just gonna watch Pete's show. Just hang.
Up to Cup and JT in your lineups.
Link to FanDuel contest today, J-Town. It's always the same link, my man. FanDuel.com/Holka.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Frost. $2. Thank you. We are back. We are back.
We're almost here.
I'm here because Joe sent me. Also, I don't want to get fined. Look,
love it.
Joe is very, very
Warren's
kind.
the man.
Sending you all over here. You don't have to stay here. Like Joe and I don't compare notes after, and we don't check attendance on who came over. And
you do have to stay. I disagree.
You are free to move about the country if you'd like, Warren. But we do appreciate you being here.
356. We did it. All right, guys. We'll see you in a bit.
Pete.